Hello Libra, welcome to the Plaid Sheep Oracle. Well, your reading is pretty fantastic. It is mystical, Libra. Totally mystical. I don't know what's happening for you. At the time that I'm doing this reading, we just had a second Aries new moon right across the way. We've had two across the way from you. Venus is moving trine to you through Gemini. And Pluto has moved into trine with you in Aquarius. And something may be happening for you personally in your own chart. So we begin with this Starseed Oracle card. Star bathing. It says light body, crystal grid, transmission, activation. And the card at the bottom of the deck was lifting the veil. I think we all are, to some extent, doing that. Those of us here, in this little collective that we are, lifting the veil, but you seem to be taking it to the next level. And I have two, actually, poems to read from my year with Rilke. The first is The Portal to. So much life can be seen here, just as on a painted stage set the world can be seen, and just as the hero performs against this backdrop, so here in the darkness of this portal unfolds an eternal drama. It is as endless and everywhere as a Father God who wondrously transforms himself into a son, whose role is divided up in many little walk-on parts, all drawn from misery's repertoire. For, as we know, it is only from among the blind, the outcast, the demented, that as a single actor, the Savior comes forth. So that came out. The date for this reading is September 21st. And so much of that, right? The image of the world as a stage set. This idea that that everybody is part of God. That trouble, right? Suffering, tribulation can lead to great revelation and expansion. Now, I was minded, since it was September 21st, to move ahead to September 23rd, which is the beginning of Libra. And the title of this poem from the Book of Hours, too, is The God That Is Coming. You, too, will find your strength. We who must live in this time cannot imagine how strong you will become, how strange, how surprising, yet familiar as yesterday. We will sense you like a fragrance from a nearby garden, and watch you move through our days like a shaft of sunlight in a sick room. We are cradled close in your hands and lavishly flung forth. So, Libra, who are you becoming? Who have your sufferings, your tribulations, your experiences turned you into? Who have you grown into? Who are you becoming as you allow yourself to be bathed by the stars? And actually, I sort of see today kind of these balls of light as if they're actually rising from this figure's body. Things that you are releasing, And you'll notice that they're not darknesses, right? They're points of light. I think you're feeling gratitude, perhaps, for what you've learned, for what you've come to understand, for the way in which your own suffering has increased your compassion, your feeling of tenderness for others. So the underlying here is soul time. The frequency of soul time asks us to allow the possibility of a new reality to emerge, one that embraces the concept that while the corporeal body is mortal, the soul is timeless, limitless, and infinite. I think that speaks for itself. And then we have romantic love. And I don't think this is a prediction. This is kind of a nod to you, Libra. Because you actually don't appear. Your cards, Justice isn't here, the Queen of Swords does not appear. I think this is sort of you. The frequency of romantic love supports our journey to feel whole and complete through the experience with and reflection of a conscious lover. I mean, this may be. It is possible, certainly, that either romantic love is about to arrive for you, or that the love that you have already is going to expand and deepen. But it may also be that you find romantic love with yourself. Right? That you fall in love with yourself. In lust with yourself. And also maybe that your inner romantic, if you have one, I have one, is released. You know, the idea of romanticism, certainly, you know, as a philosophy and of seeing life in romantic terms. It's not really modern, right? Is it? You know, in keeping with modern ideas and this intellectual digital age that we are in, where everybody's, you know, reality is important, right? What's happening, what's in the news, what's doing. What are the numbers? Can you monetize it? Right? Romance and romantic ideas seem, right? If you have them, maybe you're gullible or you're deluded even, or you're sticking your head in the sand. But I don't think that's true. I think that you are finding, right, that you can be romantic, that you can see the world as romantic, and that it improves things for you and even for others around you as you carry that energy with you. So then we have dynamic. The frequency of dynamic supports our ability to harmonize between layers and aspects of different origin and frequency. It helps us to put together a reality that is made up of many different elements, both familiar and completely new, with ease, grace, and great joy. This is a very Gemini energy. And sort of appearing here, especially in combination with this romantic love idea, I feel like, right, this is Venus, your dispositor, moving through Gemini at this moment. Now she's going to enter Leo, and she's going to catch up almost with Mars, but not quite. Before she quite catches up with him, because she does move faster, she's going to stop and go retrograde in Leo. Right, that sign of the heart. So I think that there is something about that, about Venus, your Venus, wherever she lies in your chart, in what sign, that maybe you want to pay attention to that, to expressing your Venus. And then we get root chakra. The frequency of the root chakra, the red flower of life, stimulates passion and supports our sense of security on this physical plane, both in our bodies as well as in the physical world. So I think you're finding a greater sense of security as you find greater alignment. That you're feeling more grounded, more in touch perhaps with your physical body. Less inclined to, kind of disassociate or, step out of your body when things are difficult. Creating a new somatic security for yourself. So we have here the observer. And I think this is the energy you are coming out of. I think perhaps that you've been sitting on the sidelines. It's not really the expression I want, but you've been not participating kind of in a full way, right? Maybe you've been going to work, you've been doing the thing, but you've been feeling not part of things, just as an observer watching things go by. And I don't think that this is a bad thing. I think that it has allowed you to step away, right? To be not entangled in all of that societal energy. To be able to see things, right, from a higher perspective, from a wider perspective. To not be all kind of stuck on certain details. And also perhaps, Libra is concerned with harmony, right? You like to have things harmonious and beautiful. And it may be that stepping back has allowed you to see a harmony that maybe wasn't visible when you were up close and like involved deeply, kind of hooked into whatever was going on. Because then we get this queen bee energy. And this does feel sort of very Venus-y to me. Knowing your power, knowing what your skill is, knowing how your presence even can change things. Right, like that shaft of sunlight in a sick room. And knowing that you can be a part of a thing, right, as the bee, the queen bee is in the hive, right, she's part of the hive, but she's also separate. Right, she's the only one of her kind. But that doesn't mean that she doesn't belong. And then we have this weaving flowers, which is also a very Venus card. I think you've been finding greater satisfaction in sort of daily things, right? Maybe in cooking your food or cleaning your space or, just taking a walk somewhere, right? Like great great pleasure in all of the tasks that you do. And I think this is sort of related to this root chakra thing of coming down into your body. So that, right, if you're really embodied and you notice what you're doing, right, things take on a sweetness, a beauty, an interest, right, when you're feeling things, right? Right, when you don't just, pass by the flowers without really looking at them, without, maybe smelling their fragrance, without really seeing their petals and feeling how they feel under your fingers. And seeing all of life that way, right? That you're not just stopping and smelling the roses, that you're, really stopping or being very present in what you do. And this lullaby thing is actually, it's sort of interesting. I want to say that this is saying that you had to go to sleep in order to wake up. And then maybe that's true for all of us. We had to go to sleep for a while. We had to enter this space in order to actually wake up to what is here and what is important and what matters to us. To discover our magic. To discover how to do our magic. Now, for some of us, this might be actual, literal, casting spells, doing spell work, and engaging in magical practice. But it can also be whatever your skill is. Maybe you are a chef, or you're an engineer, or an architect, or a nurse, or a teacher, right? And really stepping into that fully. So there's this herbalist card, which is a couple of different things. One, it could be that you are an herbalist, or that you're really interested in that, or that you've been learning about herbs, and maybe you've been doing it in an organoleptic way. Organoleptic is through the senses. And many herbalists will recommend this as a path, right? To learn herbs literally, right? Not just read about them in a book, but get your hands on the herb itself. Go see it growing if you can. Or grow it if that's possible for you. Taste it, touch it, smell it. And maybe you've been applying this organoleptic idea to life. But there's also this hiding thing that happens in this card of this young woman hiding herself behind. And that comes up because the Watchers come out below that. So it may be that you have been shielding yourself. I don't want to say hiding, actually. I want to say shielding yourself, protecting yourself, covering yourself. You not allowing this magic, this queen bee-ness, this dynamic energy to be seen. But I think that's about to change. Because then we have this Knight of Swords charging in. Right? Arriving. And this really felt like me to you. I mean, it could be that it's incoming information, but I think this is you allowing your energy to really burst forth. And here too, this Edelweiss card of, you know, kind of being seen, and being seen in this really romantic way, right? That you're this romantic figure. That you are, right? That you're the knight and the princess. Or the knight and the sorceress. Figures of story, figures of romance. And then you can allow that, you can be that in your life. For yourself and for others. And then this Forsythia Leviosa. This rising energy. Bright, seen, sunny, spring-like energy. And that you can be that kind of even in the face of this Five of Wands. So that even if in your general vicinity people are losing their heads, blowing up, spewing fire, getting angry, wanting to have a fight, wanting to despair, wanting to live in the gloom, you're having none of it. You're just not. You are just simply not going to engage with that. You're just not. Because you know there's absolutely nothing to be gained for anybody. Not for the people losing their heads, and not for you. All right, they are all, right, we're all kind of enacting our bits, right, from the repertoire of misery. But you don't have to do that anymore. I think you've become very clear on that. Right? What you want, I think, is to, right, to embody this, to really embody the Venus energy that is yours. And in a, right, in an air sign way, right, through how you speak to others, through how you see others, how you engage in your one-on-one relationships with others. You know, Jesus, right, the Savior, is referenced in that poem. And one theory of how he healed others is that he saw them as whole. His certainty of their wholeness and wellness and beauty was so strong that their souls just, right, like went along with it, right? They were, these people were carried into this vision of wellness that he had of them. Right? Healing through a loving gaze. And through celebration of life. So the Knight of Cups comes out now. And underneath him is this despair. And actually underneath that is fear. So should you, right, in the upcoming weeks and months, find yourself confronted by something that's triggering, right, that's affecting you, right, you are still absolutely human. And like the rest of us, right, you're a novice in this space. Still learning your power, your this new mutated timeline that you've got going. The answer to that is this Knight of Cups. This introspection on your own heart, on what your heart wants, right? It might be a meditation practice for you. It might be creating something, right? Going and making a meal, or, you know, knitting or sewing, or, you know, whatever art or craft you may do physically. You know, maybe it's talking to a good friend. You know, reading a book that has deep meaning for you. Listening to music. Right? These are ways to come back to yourself. Right? You may have to go somewhere. Right? You may have to step out of the situation. If you ever heard of Donna Eden, she's an energy medicine practitioner and teacher. And in one of her books, she talks about her relationship with her husband, who is sort of her partner in this teaching process. And they have a very different way of approaching things. She's very kinesthetic, very feeling. And he is what she calls digital, right? He's very mental in his head. And they developed this process with each other, where if they were having an argument about something, that they could stop and go kind of into their separate spaces and each kind of come back to themselves, right? Because in the argument, they kind of got all tangled up and triggered and right, were inclined to possibly say things that, you know, they didn't really mean, right? So taking that time to step away, right? You don't have to stay in the argument, really. Right? That can be a boundary that you set, right? That, you know, I need to step away from this situation and come back to myself, or else, right, we're not going to resolve it. Or, right, you've read something in the newspaper or online, to, right, walk away from it and come back to center. Right, that is keeping clarity. Right, keeping mental clarity, emotional clarity, right, in the face of all kinds of mental agitation. Because actually, you know, mental agitation can happen, right? Like, if we don't think of this as defeat or as conflict, if we just think of it as lots of ideas coming together, lots of different points of view, this can yield change and results, right? Like a square in astrology. But, right, you have to keep that internal balance, that internal clarity, right? And then change can happen, right? Balance. Right, that is, right, it's your strength, Libra. And the key is to, right, to hold your ground, right? That's the place where Libra can get into trouble, right? Giving way for the sake of harmony. You know, we like to say that compromise is good, but I'm not sure that I agree. Maybe sometimes, right, in the little things. You know, compromising perhaps on what restaurant you go to dinner. But I think that if compromise is sort of the central tenet of your conflict resolution, that eventually there's going to be resentment. I think that it is possible to come to win-win situations if people are willing to be imaginative. And so, right, holding your ground, not, you know, letting people do whatever they want just in order to maintain harmony. Not kind of stifling yourself because you don't want anybody to feel bad. And I think I'm sort of talking about that, but I don't think that's a problem for you anymore, Libra. I think that for most of you who have come to this reading, that you've absorbed that lesson. And partly I say that because we get this 8 of Discs dedication card. That you, right, that you have entered into a devotional path in your own life. This is a Virgo card, right? Virgo's right next door. And I think that you've absorbed some lessons from your neighbor about holding your ground, right? Being particular about what you want. And about devotion and possibly service. So the advice. I actually don't think you need very much, but we have this 8 of Swords, which is like, in this particular deck, fast incoming energy. All right. And I think that for all of us who have entered into these new timelines, that we are going to be challenged. Both because we are novices in this space and at this new way of moving through the world, and also because there are going to be changes that begin to happen. And I don't think that they're going to be like catastrophic, sudden tower-like things. But as Pluto moves through Aquarius, really starting next year, right, things will change. The Ace of Cups, our favorite, does make an appearance here under this 8 of Swords. So this, right, change is coming. So 10 of Swords. Let crap go. Don't hang on to things. And I actually don't think you're too prone to this, Libra. Right, as an air sign and a cardinal sign, I think you are, right, able to let things go. But also don't think about what happened the last time. As we have said in other readings, do not use the past as a map to the future. Page of Swords, open-mindedness, beginner's mind. Ready to learn, open to new ideas, and experiences. And then Three of Wands, dynamism, passion, right? The willingness to take action. The willingness to use some of that Aries energy from across the way and take action on your own behalf. Right? To stand your individual ground. And then this Five of Pentacles, which to me always is about paying attention, right? Because there's these 5 green skulls. So pay attention. Be mindful, not in the Buddhist sense, but literally. There's actually a book called Mindfulness by Dr. Ellen Langer, who is a Harvard psychology professor. That's about, right, being mindful, like paying attention. And keeping an open mind. And paying attention to how you think about things, how you talk about things, what words you use to describe others or yourself. You know, keeping that embodied mindfulness. One of the things she suggests is to notice 3 new things or 5 new things about, you know, your significant other or your home or your neighborhood or your job, kind of on a regular basis. Because we can, right, we become habituated to things. The mind is used to creating shorthand so that, you know, you can kind of, right, you don't want to have to think about tying your shoes in a detailed way every time. But it's not a bad practice to occasionally really pay attention to yourself when you tie your shoes. How do you really do it? Right? What have you never noticed about your own living room? Right? Keep that energy of newness, of seeing, of open-mindedness, of optimism. Keep that kind of mindfulness available. So I'm excited for you, Libra. I think you're really, I think you've really found yourself, found your path, found your new space, your new timeline, and that you're moving forward powerfully in it. I wish you the very best, Libra, and I'll see you next time. So long.